Don't march on an empty stomach. Come and grab some chips and some water. Testing.
Oh no, I said that'd be bad.
Make sure you send me the picture. Oh, you know it. I ain't got it. Yeah, so you're trying to snap all day. And I like that shirt. I like snap pictures. I like that shirt. I don't mind talking to you. Take the pictures, video. I'm going to send you the link. one thing, Mississippi didn't mention his name. He said he supports what they're doing, he's going to support it, but he never mentioned Cap's name.
Hello?
If you're wearing a sign, please come out and take this group picture.
If you're wearing a sign, we would like for you to come over to the left side of the courthouse, facing the courthouse, right side of the courthouse, facing Route 1, to get a human petition group picture. If you haven't signed in, please come over. Scan the QR code and sign in. We are beginning momentarily.
You guys with the signs come over here, please, for a group photo, please. Thank you.
Good job, man. Good job. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Enough.
Hold on. We're going to do a quick little video, like a little spin video real quick. Everybody just kind of, what y'all want to say? Taylor!
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Say his name. George Floyd. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. No justice, no peace. All right, everyone, again, I want to thank you guys for coming out today to raise your voices for justice and accountability. We're going to get started by marching around the building, centering ourselves, chanting so that everyone can hear us, so that we can get people from out of their streets, out of their homes, and marching with us. And then we're going to convene right back here to start the rally. So if for any reason you cannot walk and march, you are still going to be included in the rally. You can stay here behind. We'll have someone sitting at the sign-in station. Everyone will be included. We just want to start off with a march in the street so that everyone can hear us. And hopefully we can get some people that are just walking by or sitting in their homes, galvanized and out of their homes, out of their beds, and meet us in the streets. Are you guys ready to make some noise? Yeah. Are you guys ready to make some noise? So throughout this rally, if you need anything, if you have any questions, you can come find me. I'm Crystal Orieva, one of the organizers. You can find Amity Paul. Raise your hand, Amity. One of the other organizers. So if you need anything, come find us. All the other volunteers, please raise your hands. If you cannot find us, please come find one of these people raising their hands. If you have any issues with the police, we have a police liaison that is going to be working with the police. Kathy, raise your hand. She is our point person. Anything, you come find her. If there's a question from the media, you come find me. All right? Everyone ready to get started? Yeah. Are we going to take to the streets? Woo!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No peace! No peace!
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No racist.
Police.
No racist.
Police.
No racist.
Police.
George Floyd.
George Floyd. George Floyd.
Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor. No peace.
No peace.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
I might have to get a school bus for me.
called an airline.
Good, good. How are you?
Outside, allegedly selling new cigarettes. Choco. I'm there with my lady. They started right on time though. In George Floyd, they come near the door with no warrant, no reasonable cause, and they shoot. They act like 007, and they got license to kill out here. It's a mess. It's a mess. What brought you out? I heard my lady say, what brought you out today?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Line in.
Black Lives Matter.
Bluetooth connected.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
Oh, sorry.
Hey guys, can you move over to this section? We're gonna rally right here in the center. We're gonna let everyone else catch up to us.
Grab some water, y'all. Grab some water. Grab some water. We got plenty of water. Hydrate up. We got all day, y'all. We might take it to the White House now. Grab some water. We might take it to the White House. We might take it to the White House, young lady. That's
All right, we're
right.
gonna let all the protests gather before we do some grounding. No justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace.
Now, before we get started, we're going to do some grounding. I'm going to have Amity come and do an introduction first. So, to create the space for our grounding, I want to introduce one of my union sisters in education. This woman is an NEA director. She's education, Howard County, social justice warrior, known for her restorative work across the nation. Our very own Erica Chas-Saria.
All right, all right.
Say her name! Say her name!
Breonna Taylor! No peace!
Thank you. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who came before them, and to whom we owe the responsibility to fight for true liberation and justice. Some were stolen from their homelands and brought here against their will. Some were forced to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies and current-day reality of violence, genocide, displacement, and forced migration that bring us here together today. We would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the occupied, seized, and stolen ancestral territory of indigenous peoples, including, but not limited to, the Algonquian, Lenape, Nanticoke, Piscataway, Conoy, Powhatan, Akohanak, Shawnee, Susquehannock, Tutelo, Lumbee, Patuxent, Chicone, and Pocomoke, and Zapoli people. I want to recognize the indigenous reciprocal relationship with the earth, who have stewarded this land throughout generations. This acknowledgement is particularly important as we continue our fight against the effects of environmental racism on indigenous Black and brown communities and the intentional destruction of this sacred ancestral land in Mother Earth by capitalism and greed. To pay respect to the elders, both past and present, we are committed to continuing the fight against past and present day colonizers. In honor of the elders and ancestors, we will not be silenced, and we will not surrender to the evils of white supremacy, imperialism, and all forms of oppression. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth and committing ourselves to uncovering such truths in our own daily practice and in any and all public events or gatherings.
Right on.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
No racist!
Police!
All right, up next we're going to have one of our organizers, Chris Yorieva, give an introduction and discussion of the time we're over here.
All right, everyone, we want to center ourselves in this moment and center ourselves in why we're here. So before we get started and talk about the issues, we're going to do a moment of silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The amount of time it took for the murder of George Floyd. We know this time is going to be emotional. We know this time is going to be hard. But we think it's important that we start this moment, this rally, with understanding the amount of time it took for his life to be ripped away from him. So when we do this moment of silence, I ask for you to reflect. I ask for you to imagine yourself on the ground, crying out for help, crying out for your mother, crying out for someone to show you mercy, so that when we start talking about change, you can be grounded in the reason why we're here. So I'm going to ask you to kneel, or to lay down, or to sit. And then we're going to take 8 minutes and 46 seconds to reflect. Starting now. Starting now. The time now.
Bluetooth connected.
Now I know for a lot of you, that might have been the first time you participated in a moment of silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I know for me, every time I do it, it's emotional. Every time I do it, I think about my father. Every time I do it, I think about my nephew. And I imagine them crying out, just begging for mercy. And no one there to answer it. I know that moment was hard, but it was so important that we ground ourselves in that moment. And I know everyone here might not practice the same religion or no religion at all, but what we want to do after a moment like that is take a minute to pray. If you will allow us that moment to connect ourselves, because that's a hard thing to experience, right? That's a hard thing to digest. And so we're going to have the local pastor, Mr. Hill, come up and lead us in a prayer.
Invite you to center yourselves for a moment, however you feel comfortable, however it is you pray. Creator, God of justice and reconciliation, we cry out, how long, O Lord? How long must our communities suffer? How long will black and brown neighbors be unheard? How long will justice be delayed? Right now, a deadly virus rages among us. Not just COVID-19, but the virus of white supremacy, of indifference and division. We witness it on the streets of Minneapolis as George Floyd cried out, "I can't breathe." We glimpse it in the statistics of over 100,000 lost to disease. We recognize it in generations that have been denied education, access, and voice in American history. Right now, oh Lord, too many of us who are white and comfortable have been infected with this virus. We are content with status quo. We are silent in the face of discrimination, inequality, and murder of our black and brown siblings. We believe sometimes, too, that we do not have power to change the trajectory of this moment. We have bought the lie that it is someone else's problem. We have chosen to be comfortable while others cannot breathe. But we remember your spirit is fierce and mighty, moving, not just rustling our hair, but altering who we are and who we can be. Your spirit offers us an alternative narrative, to loose the bonds of injustice, to let the oppressed go free. So trusting in your grace, trusting in your capacity to alter this broken landscape, we repent of white supremacy. We reject white supremacy. We reject violence and murder of our black and brown neighbors. Empower us afresh to reject this demonic narrative that devalues lives and erects walls between our common humanity. May the names of those we've lost be on our lips. May their deaths not be in vain as we seek justice and transformation. May those in power in our communities, lawmakers, law enforcement, and policymakers, may they know who we are, and may they be frightened when we walk through their doors. May they know what we demand, that we demand change. May we take ownership of how we have contributed in our complacency and complicity to where we are today, and may we, enabled by the Spirit, work for change with boldness. So, Spirit, equip us afresh to imagine a just future for our families, our neighborhoods, our cities, our nation, and our world where no one struggles to breathe. In the name of our God, our Creator, amen.
Amen.
So today, as we talked
earlier before we marched. We don't want today just to be a day where we convene and we chant and we say names and then we leave. Today has to be more than that. Today we're asking for change. Today we're rallying around demands. Today we are moving our agenda forward. So why are we here today? Why did we decide to convene in this place today? So for some of you, you attended our first rally in Oxon Hill at the 4th District Police Station, where we rallied for change and demands, and then you saw later on the news a video of a man thrown to the ground and kicked. That moment did not happen months ago. That moment happened in the height of this moment, where we're talking about brutality, where we're talking about police going too far to vandalize the rights of brown and black people in this country. So what did that tell us? They told us that they don't care about this moment. Right. That told us that they don't care that we are taking to the streets because they killed someone and it was a mass murder that was televised of our people. That tells them that they think they're immune here in Prince George's County to a rally, to a movement, to rebellion. But they're not. And that's what we are here today for. And I'll say the same thing I said last week.
Bluetooth
yes,
disconnected.
we have some police officers that put on the uniform and go out to protect people that look like me. Yes, we have officers that go out in the streets to protect and do the honorable thing. But let's not be naive. There are people that get dressed every day and put on their badge the same way they used to put on a sheet for the KKK and go out and murder people that look like me.
Right. No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No racist.
Police.
No racist.
Police.
And that's why we're here today. And they argue that this is a movement of anti-police, anti-elected, anti-government. That's not what this is about. We're telling you that if you put on that badge, if you are sanctioned to carry a gun and have the right to kill someone for your protection, that you don't automatically fear someone because they look like me. I am not a weapon. I'm automatically not someone that can kill you. But if you don't have the mental capacity to walk out of your home and still encounter me while you pull me over for a speeding ticket and not fear me and not question that just because you pulled someone over that looks like me, you might not make it home, then you don't have the right to carry a gun.
Absolutely.
You don't have the right to be an officer. You don't have the right to be sanctioned with that authority. That is what this march is about. It's saying, do not apologize once they put us in a body bag. Because you knew that they called us nigga, wetback, spick, when they were getting dressed in the locker room. You saw them when they threw us to the ground and kicked us. You saw them then. So I don't want you to apologize once they killed us. I want you to take responsibility. The moment that you realize that they're racist, the moment that you realize they're taking advantage of the power that they've been given. I don't want them suspended with pay. I don't want them retrained. Because if I walk into my job and I call someone out of their name, if I abuse them, they're not going to train me. They're going to fire me, no questions asked.
Absolutely.
How is it that they have a lower threshold of standard of decency than us that weren't even given a gun and badge to carry? How are we accepting that? That is what this moment is about. So today you're going to hear stories of people that have been impacted by the community, impacted by the police, have persevered through violence. You're going to hear about policies that we're going to be rallying and marching to Annapolis for next session. You're going to hear about the opportunities that we can take
yourselves in what we're talking about and just think about how you can work to be that change in your community. Think about how you can push this movement, how you can organize, because that's what this moment is about. It's not about the few people that maybe organize this together. This is about every single person that's standing out here. And I want to thank you for showing up, because you showed up not for just George Floyd, not just for Breonna Taylor. You showed up for every single person that looks like me in this country. So I thank you for showing up for us.
All right, my name is Parker, and I'm here emceeing, and I just wanted to start off, and we're going to have a moment where we have some people come up and tell about their interactions with PGPD, or interactions with the justice system within Prince George's County, including police departments within municipalities. I think it's important in this moment to not forget, while these are national things that are happening, quote unquote, in other states, we have the same thing going on in Prince George's County. We have to say their names too. Leonard Shan, William Green. Like, we have the same thing. You hear it constantly from our elected officials. Their pride in us being the most affluent African-American community in the country. And yet we have the same struggles and issues with police brutality, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. 1978, they were beating somebody in Hyattsville Police Department here. Terrence Johnson. Now we're in 2020. I'll start off with my most recent story, because I think, like a lot of you out here, I have story after story after story after story about police encounters in my county, in my home that I grew up in. I was in my apartment no less than 3 months ago, and I hear youth going back and forth with a police officer. I hear that police officer tell that youth, stop walking and square up with me like a man. I hear the youth continue to walk away and tell him to leave him alone, let him go. He's talking like this because he's got a badge on, and that police officer continued to antagonize the situation. I put on my shoes and I'm running down the steps, and I hear the police officer pull his weapon and yell at this, get on the ground. The kids are screaming, he's got a gun, he's got the gun on us. By the time I get out, he's got this boy on the ground in handcuffs, putting his gun back up and dragging him away. I asked him what's his badge number. I asked him what's his name. He refused to give it. Took the child all the way into my manager's leasing office and closed the door. I had to call all the way up to Chief Stawinski for something to happen to that police officer. And I want to say something and be very clear to the elected officials in here. I am not against you. We are not against you. What we are for is accountability. Accountability. Do not show up at rally after rally. Do not put on your own rally at the National Harbor and talk about Black Lives Matter when you have all the power to immediately enact policies, procedures, and legislation to directly impact the issues of police brutality within Prince George's County. Don't do it. The presence of power without that power utilizing itself to make change within our community is a trick. And I want to call you out because I see your trick. If this ain't your shoe, then don't put it on. But if you're here and you come to these rallies and you have a nice photo op and you don't make change, stop talking about being homegrown. Stop talking about how much you love Prince George's County. Stop talking about how much you love your constituents and your community. Don't just
against Georgian, and I'm a directly impacted mother. My son was falsely charged 22 times with everything you can imagine in the domestic violence realm. I wrote something down because I've been very emotional lately, and I just wanted to make sure that I make my concerns very, very clear. So this all started in 2013. This transpired over a 4.5-year period. A young woman that my son was in a relationship with utilized the criminal justice system as a weapon against my son. My son, like I said, he was charged 22 times. We went to court. We've been to trials and everything else. I'm shaking, so just give me a second because I get emotional.
Take your time.
Okay. It started with the first incident. The first incident was when my son's ex-girlfriend learned how she could use the system as a weapon against my son. My son called the police because she was drunk and she assaulted him. He called the police to de-escalate the situation. When the police got there, my son was arrested, even though neighbors verified that what my son was stating was true. Once this young woman saw this, it was all hands on. Give me a second because my nerves.
Take your time.
It's okay. Take your time. For 4 years, she would call the police or go to the commissioner's office and file charges, even though on paper the charges and the statements that she made were ridiculous. At any given time, and I would love for you to try to visualize this as a mother or as the actual person living this nightmare, visualize any day that this person felt like filing a charge on you, the sheriff or the police coming to your door and arresting you. Imagine as a mother having to live through that. Imagine going to your mailbox on any given day and there being a warrant for your son's arrest. Now, what's so amazing to me is that they knew she was lying. We had evidence, we had witnesses. It did not matter because my son's life did not matter. He was disposable. I'm sorry.
Take your time.
I'm sorry. Just give me a second. It was so bad, and this is how horrific this story is, that the attorney that represented her through the House of Ruth filed a writ to withdraw representation because she had, and I quote, perjured herself multiple times on the witness stand. She filed false police reports and misled officers. And guess what happened? The judge sealed the document and took my son to a jury trial. This is just an example of how unjust the system can be. Needless to say, I fought like hell. And when I tell you, I ripped up a Marlboro courthouse in shreds. I had no choice. I told them over and over and over again, you will not outlast me and you cannot have my son. After 4 years of this ordeal, I finally worked with the state's attorney's office and kind of won them over, and they ended up, eventually, the young woman was charged, she was tried, and she was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. But that's not that great. Yes, we got that victory, but she was never charged for filing false charges. She was never charged for perjuring herself. It should never be that easy for someone to rip someone else's life apart, especially when the facts are on my side. Of course, we're grateful for the final outcome, but we're still fighting through trauma. We pray to God for guidance, we pray to God for protection, and we promise God that we would dedicate ourselves to supporting ourselves to empower others, support others, and assist them with navigating through this system. We started our own organization called the Just Us Initiative. it should never be just us. We have to work together. We have to fight for justice. Believe me, we did not choose this fight. God chose us for this fight. And we're going to fight. Okay? So my ask for my community is this. I'm asking for reform, not only with the police department, but with the commissioner's office. Anyone can file a charge on anybody. And you will be charged until you go through this system. I could pick any one of you in this audience right now, and I can file a charge on you. I promise you, you will be charged. We need accountability from the state's attorney. We need courtroom accountability with the judges. Expungement is another thing. So they go out here and they charge all these young people with all these bogus charges. And they say, oh, well, once it's over and the case is dismissed or you get a no lay proseque, you can get it expunged. Let me correct you. You cannot. In your NCIS record, it stands. If I had anybody, a police officer or the state's attorney is right there, if I had her look at my son's file right now, it still exists and it's considered expunged. So to say to someone, oh, just go to court, it'll be expunged and you'll be back to normal, it's not a fact. You're wrecking and ruining lives. The public defender's office. I believe the public defender's office needs more support because they have a backlog of cases that they cannot handle. Legislators. Oh my God. Let's talk.
Talk about it, Dawn.
A mess. I can't even name them because I'm too nervous right now, but let me just say this. My son has gone to Annapolis and testified on multiple bills. What I've seen in Annapolis is mind-blowing.
Right.
So what I want to say to you is this. If there are legislators that we're putting in office to represent our interests, and they are not representing our interests, they need to go. Their seat needs to be flipped. Period, point blank.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Let's do our research, people. Let's look at our legislators. Let's look at the people that we put in office to represent us. If their efforts don't represent us, they need to go. Do your research. If we do find that there are legislators who do represent the interests of the public, let's stand behind them and build them up and go up in Annapolis with them to get these bills passed. Let's do that.
Votes matter.
Yes.
Lives matter.
And last but not least, I just want to say the school-to-prison pipeline is a very real thing. Food deserts are a very real thing in Prince George's County, and that is unacceptable. I'm begging you to do your research, and that's pretty much all I have to say. I thank everybody for being here today, and I just encourage you, let's get to work.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
Black votes matter.
Black votes matter.
Black votes matter.
Black votes matter.
Your vote matters.
Your vote matters.
All right, up next we have Miss Monica. She's going to talk about her experiences, and you just have to be careful. Piggyback on what Miss Dawn said. This is systemic. It's almost in every part. It's not just about police brutality. It's about institutional racism in relation to the court proceedings, in relation to how they can charge, when they can charge, what they can charge, what can be expunged, how it can be expunged, how it can't be expunged. It is about legislators who will come to you in your district, in their district. They'll have these District 47 nights or District 25 nights up in Annapolis, but won't pass legislation in Annapolis. Look at if they are receiving donations from the police union and the FOP. Look at that. Is this public record? All right, come on, Ms. Monica. No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to have a similar story to what you just heard. And like she mentioned, this is systemic even here in Prince George's County. And again, my name is Monica Roebuck, and I've been a lifelong resident here in Prince George's County. I'm here to share a story about what happened to me and my family with the courts and the justice system here in Prince George's County. Not only do we need to address the police brutality that's going on and the racism, but we also need to take a close look at the judges in the courts and who we have on the bench, because one wrong decision can ruin your life. The whole nightmare started 2 years ago, in 2018, with my brother who was charged with domestic violence. Now here in Prince George's County, the threshold for domestic violence is extremely low, which means you don't have to have any pictures, you don't have to have a police report, just someone makes a charge and you are then guilty in the eyes of the court. So in this case, again, with my brother, his wife then did not have any of the evidence. The case was heard, I went with him to the courtroom, and after hearing both sides, he ruled against my brother and Herman Dawson, and again I'm going to say his name, Herman Dawson, because we need to get rid of judges that are making bad choices against our community. We need judges who care about the community and care about the people in the community. He sentenced him to a 1-year stay-away order from his home. He had no priors, no former sentencing. He is a college-educated person with a high security clearance and a family man, most of all. But when it comes to the court system, it boils down to he's just another black man in America. So I want you to know, if we don't have the right people on the bench, again, one wrong decision can ruin your life. Implicit bias is why this happened. And this can be with blacks and whites. Blacks against blacks have implicit bias, where they just think that you are a common criminal just because you're black. So he was removed from his house after the order was given. He was literally given about 4 hours to gather all of his things. He was assisted with a sheriff to go to his home, take all of his things. And of course, he was not even able to get everything in his home because he had lived there for 15 years. After this, things go from bad to worse. He was ordered to pay $3,000 each month. And the only bright spot in this story was that he was given joint custody because, again, he was a family man. But after they separated, this was the beginning of the end for his relationship with his children. How many of you know that a child needs their father? Children need their parents.
That's right.
Weeks went by, months went by, and he never saw his children. One wrong decision by a bad judge. The kids were programmed against him, and he was alienated from his own children. I can't get into any further details because this case is actually still in process. But I do want you to know the court system has failed us. They refuse to enforce their own order. We have had scheduling delays. We have had cases that disappeared from the system, and that is totally unacceptable. We have gone to court to sit half a day just to be told that there was no judge there. This is not a system that is working for us. We are paying taxes to make sure that we get justice, and this is unacceptable. So, again, I say all this to say that it is very important to vote. We have to make sure that we have the right people on the bench. Our destiny is tied to who we vote for, and our communities are tied to who we vote for. In closing, I want to share a quote by Frederick Douglass. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are men who want crops without plowing the ground. Power can seize nothing without a demand. It never has and never will. No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
Is this louder, guys? Okay, we're going to use the mic now. No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
Defund police.
Defund?
Police.
Defund?
Police.
Defund?
Police.
As a former educator, I would love for the funds to go to education to Prince George's County. Defund the police.
Defund the police and put it in the school system.
Right, makes no sense. It's backwards. Our kids are our future, like they say.
Right now, we're
I'd like to have Miss Rosa Noloweska come up and talk about her story.
Yo soy Rosa Nolasco y estoy apoyando a los, porque mi hijo fue atacado por un policía
I'll be translating for Rosa. My name is Rosa Nolasco, and I am here supporting everyone because my son too was assaulted by a police officer in this district.
En el 2018 fue atacado por un policía y me le rompió la cabeza.
In 2018, he was assaulted by a police officer who used his gun to crack his head.
Él se levantó cuando él estaba, otro día se levantó todo lleno de sangre y no hicieron nada por llevarlo al hospital ni a coserle la herida porque le dieron 5 puntadas en su cabeza.
He woke up the next morning and his head was full of blood. The police officers did not do anything during the incident, and in the next morning I took him and got him stitches.
Y él tenía las ganas de mi hijo con asalto cuando no hizo nada.
The officer wanted to accuse my son of assault when he did nothing.
Lo latino en la razón que pasó es que cuando el abogado de mi hijo pidió el juicio para él recordar de la policía fiscal, dejó todos los cargos al crimen con cargos. Mi hijo fue.
When my lawyer asked the judge for the records of what happened that day, the state's attorney dropped all the charges.
Y una mentira en el policía de Hodgson que hizo a mi hijo, la misma policía que mató a Manuel Espinosa.
This same officer who is Stephen Johnson is the same officer that killed Manuel Espinosa in 2008.
Wow.
En investigación, castigar a él después de ese incidente, la policía promovió a él a detención como la policía.
Instead of punishing this police officer and holding him accountable, the police station decided to promote him to becoming a detective.
La comunidad cuando estaba buscando la comunidad como la policía puede terminar su racismo cuando está promoviendo personas racistas.
How can the community ask for help from police officers when they're promoting racist officers like Stephen Johnson?
Estoy aquí para decir que estoy luchando para apoyar a mi hijo y todas las comunidades.
I am here to tell you guys that I am here to fight for my son and fight alongside everyone else.
Negros o morenos contra racismo es la parte quedarnos callados. Por eso sigo con mi caso de la policía hasta tener justicia.
Black or brown, we should not stay quiet, and that's why I am still going to continue my case to fight for justice.
No peace. No peace. Police. 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 Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Always. Next, we're going to have Miss Tracy Shan come up. For those of you who do not know, her brother was tragically killed by PGPD and Hyattsville police within the past 6 months. We're going to have her come up and speak.
Hello, everyone. Hola, ¿cómo está? How you doing? No justice?
No peace.
No PG Plaza. He was falsely accused of something that he did not do.
Yes.
Okay? He did not commit a crime. And they said, oh, it was that black guy over there that did it. The police came and ran him down. But the story that they did not tell you on the news is that they tried to kill my brother in 2018 at the New Carrollton Starbucks. They walked up on him. He didn't do anything wrong. And then they tried to stab him up and kill him. And when he defended himself, they put him in jail. And then when the videos came out and it said no, he was not in the wrong. It was the officer that was in the wrong. They dropped all charges and never charged the officer. So when it came around time of September 26th, and my brother lifted up his shirt and he said, y'all are trying to kill me. Look what you did to me a year ago. Y'all are trying to murder me. I am scared for my life. They ran him down, assumed that they did their best to try to do things peacefully. 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes passed, and they decided the best resolution for this problem is to kill another black man. Let's just shoot him, get him out the way, and keep it moving. The officers that has been put off duty and said, sit down for a minute so we can figure this out.
2 weeks.
Not even 2 weeks.
They get 2 weeks to get their lives straight.
Not even 2 weeks. They came back when COVID-19 hit. Chief Ahmad Awad said, oh, well, you know what? We need you. Let's put you back out on the street, even though you're still under investigation. No justice, no peace. So if it can happen to my brother, Leonard Shan, if it can happen to George Floyd, where he got stomped in his neck, he pushed down on that man's neck. And when that man tried to move his head and said, I can't breathe, he pushed a little bit harder. And you know what that tells me? That tells me you don't care. Now, not all white people are bad. I should know it's in my bloodline. So not all white people are bad, but there are a few that we have to hold them accountable. We have to look at them and say, no, you will not continue. And you know what's so bad? When we watch the news, where all that's going on all over America, all that's going on, you still see officers, still, what is it? Tasering the citizens. Still see officers knocking down an old man. Knocked him down till he started bleeding out his ears and kept on walking like it was nothing. That means you say your badge gave you leeway to do whatever you want. And I live in America. I don't live in Libya. You cannot do what you want. Not on my watch. So we will continue to fight. We will continue to fight to make sure that they stop. We ain't playing with them. It's over. They trying to take, what did he say? We're gonna get Latinos out of this country. Stop. When you came to this country, it wasn't yours to begin with. This is a free country. It is free country, free for all. So what makes you think that you can kick the Latinos out and then come and kick the Caribbeans out and kick everybody out? Then what? You wanted a greater America? You got it. That's what we're going to give you with this. Greater America. All lives matter. Black lives matter today. You want it? We're going to give it to you. We're going to show you what we're working with. We're going to show you what we're working with. Since you said we're going to bring back a greater America, this will be a greater America where black, white, brown will all come together and walk. And you will not stop us. And we're going to get you out of office. No matter the cost. You hear me? No matter the cost. No matter the cost. Remember, I said it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to tell y'all this, and I'm hoping that y'all hear me. Don't stop fighting. When it rains tomorrow, when it rains on Thursday, and thunderstorm is hitting, and then y'all have 2 days to rest, y'all get back up, because you know what? When God was building this planet, he says, okay, I'm going to build we say to people. This is a very delicate time, okay? We're going to all come together, sing Kumbaya, and we're going to keep fighting for justice. You hear me? And I hope y'all understand. Comprende, amigo? Comprende? Thank you.
Justice for Leonard!
Justice for Leonard Sand!
Justice for William Green!
Justice for William Green. Justice for William Green. Justice for Leonard Shan. Justice for Leonard Shan. I have a quick announcement. If you are hooked up to the speaker Bluetooth, please come to the table over there so we can unhook you so that we can start using the microphone as well. I just wanted to say that I really was moved by that last one in that last chant of defund the police. If we could say that again, defund the police. Defund the police. Defund the police. Defund the police. Counselors, not cops. Counselors, not cops. Counselors, not cops. Counselors, not cops. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. And black trans lives matter. Black trans lives matter. Right now we have Miss Ruby from Casa Ruby to come up and speak to us.
Hello, Hyattsville. Are you angry yet?
Yes!
Are you angry yet?
Yes!
I know by now many of you know why you're here, why you came. By now you should know why you are here. I'm going to tell you why I am here. I'm going to tell you why I am here. I am here for my black, gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender children. Yes! I am here for my queer children. Because they're black. My black, gay sons. My black, gay, lesbian daughters. My black, trans daughters. My black, trans sons. My black, gender, non-binary kids. I am here for my black sister who just on May 29 lost her life in Fairmont Heights with no local outrage. Yes, May 29, 2020. You didn't see that in the news, did you? No! I am here for my brown sister who just last week lost her life in a hotel in survival mode. So I'm not just here to remind you that in these layers of oppression, we all are losing. I'm here also for the thousands of brothers and sisters and family that cry for help right here in this building. Right here in this building, where racist, homophobic, transphobic PG police profile them. You know what profiling is? It's to chase you and make you guilty just for who you are. And guess what? They never got any justice.
No justice, no peace.
No justice. No peace. But I'm not just here to show up. I'm really not just here. I'm here to do the work. This is the work. And I'm also here to make some demands. Do you all have your paper? You know your demands? Because don't just show up to be on Twitter. Don't just show up to be on the news. Do you have your demands? know what they are. You need to memorize them. And when you send your taxes, when you write your yearly tax bill, I need you to send that to the government so they know what you expect from your tax dollars. I tell you what I expect. Number one, I expect a lot more from you, from the people that showed up today. I expect you to open your mind. I didn't come here just by coincidence. I came here because gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender children are being kicked out of their homes right here in PG County just because their parents think that something is wrong with the children. There ain't nothing wrong with your children. There's nothing wrong with your children. You know what is wrong? It's the system that tells you that you have a problem at home and that you gay children don't deserve love. That a school system that instead of protecting your children allows them to be bullied and they end up homeless on the streets. Yes, these are your children. You got work to do. You got work to do. If you're going to talk about Black Lives Matter, you got to talk about Black Trans Lives Matter. Two lives, trans lives just were lost within the last 10 days. I believe you got to do the work. You got to do the work, and you got to put your money. You got to put your money.
That's right, yes.
You got to put your money
Yes.
into this work.
That's right.
Because unfortunately, the money is not sustaining this work. Most of us are here and paying for your labor. That's because the system will never allow for social services to receive the investment that is needed in our communities. Yes. This movement about defund the police is not about having police officers without jobs. No, what it is about having a fair share. It's called a fair share. It is called justice. It is called justice because if our children cannot have access to a future, we will continue the cycle of incarceration. And that is the excuse. That is really the excuse why police budgets have grown like never before. Because we have to take care of the criminals. We need to start holding the police accountable first. Arrest them first.
Right.
If we're really gonna be fair, they need to be arrested first.
That's right.
So you have some work to do. This must end. This must end. This is the time. Today is the time. We don't have time to lose. Because tomorrow it will be you. Tomorrow it will be your son. Tomorrow it will be your daughter. And guess what? No one is going to show up for you. So now it's time to show up for yourself.
All right.
One quick announcement. If you do not have a one-pager, it says front and back. Local demands are on the back. The front is broken down into 3 sub-headings. Raise your hand. We have some to come around. On that page is also a QR code. We ask that you scan it so that we can keep in contact with you with upcoming actions and such. So thank you very
very much. We got 2 people. They have a Casa Red shirts. They will give you a 1-pager. Thank you so much. What we want to do right now is recognize that this is a community and that we're all here in this community. And we want to give everyone or anyone that has been impacted by the police a chance to share with the community. A lot of times we don't say our stories, or our neighbors don't hear our stories, and so they don't think that this happens in our community. But it does, consistently. And we have to share, we have to voice what happens so that there can be change. So I want to give you the opportunity, if you wanted to come up and share with the group, please do. You can start on this side with the line or on that side with the line.
Line in.
Can y'all hear me? I say, can y'all hear me? First and foremost, I want to give all praise due to the Most High for giving me a body to breathe in today. Can y'all make some noise for God? Come on now. Secondly, my name is Elijah Divine. We're all divine by design. I am a resident of PG County. And ironically, my brother is wearing someone that got killed by the hands of a white supremacist, Richard Collins III. I went to school with him and I knew him personally. And it impacted me deeply when I realized that it was hitting close to home as a black man in Prince George's County. Ironically, we also talk about the public school systems and the fact that literally I was labeled and placed into special education classes because I was too talkative and I was too expressive. So they put me in a co-talk class and forced me to read at a remedial level to the point where they tried to make me illiterate to the point where I would not be able to speak in front of you today. But God is amazing and God is a triumphant God. And in these times, we have to realize that the victory is already won. So when I'm talking to my family right now, I'm talking in a voice of victory. I'm talking in a voice of praising the Most High because we have to acknowledge what is going on. Now let me speak to my black brothers real quick, because black brothers, I think this is a time for you all to arm yourselves with information, arm yourselves with knowledge, arm yourselves with the empowerment mindset that you know that you have a family to defend by any means necessary. Meaning when you go home, I need you to learn how to do hand-to-hand combat. When you go home, I need you to learn weapon training by way of defense first, not an offense first. Secondly, I want to talk to the black sisters because the black sisters been holding it down for much too long, where it's time for our brothers to make sure we stand up on behalf of our black sisters, because our sisters shouldn't have to champion for us so long. Our sisters should not have to stand in front of us for so long. We love our mothers. We love the ladies. We love the fact that they can come out here and speak on behalf of their brothers and their sisters and the trans lives that are impacted. But it's time for us as black men to stand up for ourselves. It's time for us as black men to start fighting back systematically as well as physically if need be. I don't hear that conversation going on long enough. Secondly, the fact that we're living in Prince George's County, that one of the wealthiest economically black places to live in America, and we're not learning how to be financially literate is a problem. We bring about $1.2 trillion worth of revenue within the black community alone. But do you think they're teaching us at Friendly High School, one of the public schools I went to? Do you think they're teaching that in Prince George's County schools? No. So ironically, it's time for us to actually take our education back at home. So 2 months ago, financial literacy was just passed within our schools. But, hold on. Thank you, sister, for educating me on that. But also, I also want to say 2 months ago, we wasn't even in school. So 2 months ago, it may have been passed within our education system, but 2 months ago, we was being home taught. So it's time for our parents as well as the children to be financially literate in order to guide the youth to a new location. Lastly, I want to say this because I did not plan to speak long. It's time for us to mobilize outside of this. It's time for us to mobilize outside of this. It's time for us to mobilize outside of this. Many of the movements and the marches that took place years ago did not happen within a week or so. It happened over 7 months. It happened over 64 days. It happened over a long duration fraction of time. So I know you're tired, I know you're weary, I know you're feeling drained, but it's something called spiritual stamina. And when your stamina is on high with your spirit being on high, you got to allow the movement to be moved in the direction of empowerment until the power to the people is back in the hands of the people. We have to acknowledge right now, at a time like this is a spiritual warfare. So even though we may be manifested in the physical right now, we have to acknowledge something. Our brothers and sisters are getting slaughtered spiritually before they're getting slaughtered mentally and physically. So let's make sure our mental health is in check. When we go home, let's make sure that we're all right. Sisters, are you all right? Brothers are all right? Check up on each other because it's rough out here. Lastly, make sure you're praying. Make sure you're meditating. Make sure that you're at peace within yourself before you try to go out somewhere in shambles. And lastly, but not leastly, when we're talking about police reform, it's time to continuously hold them accountable. And brothers and sisters, specifically brothers, let's police our own neighborhoods. Let's police our own streets. We have the right to form a militia, do we not? So it's time for us to police our own streets and start taking our streets back. God bless you all.
No justice! No justice! No justice! No racism!
Hi everyone, my name is Matthias Cisse.
I'm an educator here in Maryland, and I have deliberately chosen to work at one of the...
Okay, so like I was saying, I'm an educator here in Maryland, and I deliberately chose to work at an HBCU. What we're experiencing here in this country is not acceptable anywhere else in the world. The violence the police have made it up on us, and the audacity that they have to feel like they can say and do anything and nothing happens should be keeping us awake. I have been pulled over for drunk driving. I don't even drink altar wine in church. My 18-year-old son was pulled over. He was kept until his white friend came with a camera videotaping the whole incident before he was let go. So what we are experiencing in this country should, like I said, keep us awake. I'm married to a white woman, and there are instances where she has to hold my hand before people can say, oh yeah, sure, so how did you guys meet? As if we have to justify why we are together. It is not based on love, it's about something else. So one thing I read, I think it was last week, when we see videos of police officers kneeling down all over the place, pretending that they are supporting us, I disagree. And I read something, someone saying, if you have been or know someone who is in an abusive relationship, and on a Monday morning, the abuser sends a bouquet of flowers to that person's job, you know exactly what these police are doing. They're pretending. So, as angry as we have the right to be, my word of encouragement here is that we consider this anger not as a sprint, but as a marathon. And we don't just take it all the way to the polling station in November. How about if we can start an idea of making Election Day a national holiday in this country? It happens in other countries, and the United States is richer than those countries. Election can be a national holiday. All you do is go vote. This country will not go bankrupt for missing one day. So let's have that in mind. Let's keep pushing. One of my heroes, Steve Biko, once said that. Yes. He said, the only potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Until we tell them, look, I know what you're doing, and I'm going to stand up to it, this is going to continue. They will keep doing it. I don't know about you, but when I was kneeling down for those 8 minutes and for the 8 seconds, my knees were hurting. So think about it. Someone kneeling on your neck on the concrete for that long. They may have dehumanized you before they can do that to you. So let us make it clearly known that we are here, we're not going anywhere, we have nowhere else to go. You're here, this is a country of immigrants, and nobody, especially if our tax dollars are paying you, should consider themselves better than us. We will make you unemployed. So you know what it feels like to not have a job. And for all those policymakers who are not helping us, who are not in our interest, how about if we can help them redo their resumes? Let us do that. I mean, I volunteer to help. Let them do their resumes. Because we need to get them out of office in November.
I loved his analogy about the abusive relationship. When you get abused and then somebody sends you flowers and say, hey, forget about what we did, right? It's almost like, oh, hey, this murder in Prince George's County happened by PGPD, but I'm marching with you as an elected official, so here are your flowers. I need change. Hey, everybody. Hello. Let me get my whole life together. My name is Ashante. I have to yell. Okay. My name is Ashante. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for having me. I am here to share a poem with you guys. But if I can, I wanted to give you some context behind how this poem was created. I know that we're all currently hurting right now, just with everything that is in the news and everything that we have seen and heard over 6, 7, 8 years plus, right? And for me, I have 2 brown daughters. They're sitting right over there on the ground. And so I am a parent. And of course, we parents, we worry about our children, especially mama bears, right? And so we'll do anything to protect our kids. But right now, parents are hurting because we don't know what to tell our children in order to keep them safe. When at birth, you were deemed to be a criminal. At birth, you were deemed to be vicious. At birth, you were deemed for someone to fear you. To fear you. Just by the color of your skin. And that's a hard thing to live with. So when I saw the video of George Floyd, of course it broke my heart. And I really struggled with trying to figure out, what did we ever do to white America for them to hate us so much? To go through this, what did we ever do? And my mind is spinning. And I'm mad. And I'm angry. And I'm sad. And I'm trying not to cry. And random times in my house, I'm just crying. I'm washing the dishes. I'm crying. This is the pain that we live with every day. And how do I protect my kids? So on this particular day, my brother sends me a video via Instagram DM. It's a video of a young man outside, pinched up between a car and 2 police officers. And they are trying to arrest him. Next thing you know, you hear a shot go off. His body goes limp. And the blood from him starts to stain his white t-shirt. And the officers arrested a dead body. We are all witnesses to murder. If this does not disturb your core, you are not human. You should go check yourself into a mental institute because you are a serial killer. You are a witness to murder. And I am enraged. I'm an artist.
Right on, artist. Yeah.
And so I'm leaving work. And I'm on 495 on the highway. And these words are circling in my head. And so I got to pull over on the side of the highway to get this out. This is the poem that I would like to share with you today. Can I do that? Thank you. I can't see another brown body laying limp on the ground. I can't see another brown body being tossed through the crowd. Struck by a call labeled 911. I thought 911 was for in case of emergency. Thank you for calling 911, where every white police officer has permission to kill blacks with their gun. Emergency. America, you're in a state of emergency. Dispatcher, please, can you tell the police to stop killing me? Get down now, boy, get on your knees. Get down now, boy, you gotta plead. Get down now, boy, but officer, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Please take off my neck your weighted knee. But all blacks are angry. Nah, bitch, we suffer from PTSD. Forever ingrained in my mind is video footage of you and your kind killing me. We're tired. We're crying. We're wishing. And we're mad. We're fed up. We're angry. We're praying. We're sad. We're restless. We're anxious. We're furious. Get mad. Get mad. Be enraged. It's open season on blacks. And every white person has a pass. There's no 911 to call just in case of emergency. Not if you happen to have the skin that resembles me.
That's a hard act to follow. So I'm just going to give you some absolute truth. She started with PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome. If you are black and living in Prince George's County, living in Hyattsville especially, I was born in 1968, so I've been here for a very long time. I've been educated, my family's been educated, my children have been educated, and not one of us have escaped being in contact with the police, whether it's through coming home from Northwestern or Roosevelt and being accosted at PG Plaza by a police. This is my son calling me on the phone, scared to death because somebody said that he did something and all he did was coming home from practice from Roosevelt, getting on the train to come home. The police officer that looks like him threw him down to the ground, had his knee, this must be a procedure, but he cried and was for his life, scared to death. I immediately called Susie Johnson, because she and I played volleyball, and thank God I have friends on the police force. And for this atrocity to happen over and over and over again in Prince George's County. If you look around, you don't see the victims of these crimes because they're too afraid to come out. I'm scared to come out here. I'm afraid to be out here. For as anything goes down, I'm running because that's what I learned to do, is to run. Because if you stay and fight, you will die. I've had friends, I graduated in 86 from Northwestern. In 1986 from Northwestern. And let me say, is it about racism? Is it about police brutality? What is it really about? We have to be generators of peace. We have to educate our children on how to respond to the police. We have to accept that we are the most hunted race in society. And I understand that we are here. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for marching for us. But personally, I'm afraid to be in a mixed crowd. Because if one person do the wrong thing, they're not going to shoot you. They're not going to aim for you. They're going to aim for somebody like me. Black, with locks especially. If you don't know who to shoot, shoot the one that wears the uniform. Meaning, I got black skin, I got locks. My son, as soon as he could, he left this state and this county. After over and over again. Coming home from University of Maryland. The atrocities on that campus. That racism on that campus. My son was jumped on that campus. And half the things I didn't even know about. If I didn't see the hospital bill is how I found out that my son was jumped on University of Maryland campus police. How many times has he been pulled over on University of Maryland College Park campus? How many times coming from University of Maryland on Queens Chapel Road and being stopped and arrested because he said he was driving a pickup truck. His license was in the back, in the compartment in the rear of the truck. He couldn't get it. They dragged him out. I didn't know where my son was. He called called me and said, Mom, I'm leaving the library. Never came home. 3 o'clock in the morning, a police officer dropped his book bag off. My daughter came and said, here's my son's book bag. Well, where's my son? She said she didn't know. They just dropped the book bag off. I called Susie Johnson. He was in a cell. For what? For what? Because he didn't have his driver's license? They wouldn't allow him to get his driver's license. All for a tail light being out. His tail light. I lost that truck. I tried to come up here. I have never seen the truck since because they impounded it, and it's like hell and high water to get anything back. I had to call Ramirez. God bless him. I had to Victor Ramirez. I had to call every time. He's like, what again? Every time one of my children get in trouble, or one of the children from Roosevelt, or one of the children from Northwestern get in trouble, we have to call him because he knows. He knows the injustice that occurs in this city. And we as parents, we have to educate. The school system needs to educate our children on how to interact with the law. Which is basic union citizenship that we have to learn. We have to learn the law. We have to know how to operate within these laws so we don't be killed. I thank God for COVID-19 because I feel like that's the safest we've ever been. That's the safest we've ever been. We've been home with our families, safe. Safe from racism, safe from people who have power hunger, from control, just pure safety. And now that they lifted the ban and everybody's back out, my prayers go deep for everyone now because unless you're black, living in this community, you can't even walk down the streets without people looking through you. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but I've experienced it, and I know it for a fact. In our educators, in our leadership, it is there, it exists. We have to face it, but we have to face it smart. And it starts with our economic power, doing stuff like this in every community to bring us together in peace and unity because it takes a village. But we have to face our own biases. We have to face our own trauma because I'm traumatized. Right now, me being around here is very scary and nerve-wracking. You know, if it wasn't for the camera, that's the only thing that keeps me sane. Even my daughter and her friends, a female, my daughter was arrested because she was scared that the police was going to hurt her. And because of her reaction, they locked her up and said, she just turned 18. It was March the 20th. Her birthday was March the 18th. He said, you can't call your mom. You're 18 now. You're an adult. And locked her up, fingerprint her, traumatized. Traumatized. My daughter has yet to recover from that incident. How many others are out here has been a victim of that? But we have no help. We need more lawyers. We need more community activism. And we need these things taught in our school. If not, it's a battle that we can't win. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we want to have Erica and Amity come up.
Oh, okay. Another feature. All right.
Yeah, and we want to talk about, we have to understand the history of what brought us to this moment, right? We have to understand why we're standing here today. And I just thank everyone for standing here with us, because we know it's a lot to be out here, but we thought it was important to, one, have the space to hear each other's stories, to elevate the people that are impacted, because we didn't want to have this just be us standing here, chanting and going home. We really wanted to create a safe space for people to lay out their truth. And then we want to leave here with a list of demands, actions, and next steps. So now I'm going to pass it to Amity and Erica.
Alright, so I have my co-teacher here. We're going to share some things with you. She has some assignments for you. But I want to take you back to, for people who know me, I just like to walk around. I want to take you back to the history, and it's going to be real quick.